watching Talking About Orks.
So here you go, after the Badab Black is dried. This is obviously a different model, but in order to save time, I've actually pre-staged a few guys here. You can see how the Badab Black has gotten into the recesses and really shaded absolutely everything. The nice thing about the Orks is they're very organic shaped, some nice folds in the cloth, all of which get nicely shaded by the wash. So this one has also had 2 washes of Thrakka Green on all the skin. You can see I haven't done anything with this with the fingernails or the teeth yet, because they usually get it's hard to avoid getting the wash onto those areas when you're doing the skin, so I just don't even try. And I've also washed the helm in Devlan Mud. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but the top of this armor plate's also been done in the Devlan Mud over the Badab Black, and it's a little different. It's a little more dirty than the rest. The Badab Black is just there for shading more than anything else. Of course, you can always add more layers to it now if you want to. I don't do it simply because, again, we're talking about 150 models you have to get on the board, and if you're gonna, layering the skin is bad enough, but trying to layer the whole model, you'd probably go insane before you got the army painted, to be honest. So after 2 good washes of Thrakka Green on the skin, which I will do on this one, this is the one of the wet wash, I'll do the skin after Badab Black dries, and then of course I have to fix it. What we'll do is we'll take the skin is just based in Goblin Green, obviously, and then with the washes, especially on the second coat, at least with mine, from Thrakka Green doesn't seem to be a very dark color, so it doesn't really, one coat just doesn't seem to be enough to get the shading in the recesses. On the second coat especially, you want to concentrate on all the recesses here between the muscles here, especially on the face, like right here on the chin and under the lip, to get the wash in there so you get that darker tone in there to get that shading that you're looking for. So what's the next step after the Thrakka Green is washed? And that's, we're going to give it a layer. The skin is the one part we are going to do the layering on. So I'm going to grab my Goblin Green, a little bit of Flow Aid on my palette. And actually mix them on the palette, kind of mix them on the lid. And what we do is we're going to go over the skin with this is a fine detail, the Citadel fine detail brush, and we're going to get over all the high spots, leaving the Thrakka Green wash in the recesses. Now this definitely takes some practice on where exactly the paint's going to go, and this is probably one thing that when I was trying to figure this out that was the hardest for me to understand, is where to put the paint on this layer. And you just say avoid the recesses doesn't really tell you much when you're talking about something that the recesses are everywhere. There are different kinds, different shapes. You know, there are slight recesses, there are bigger recesses, but the point is, at least with this one, is I'm trying to make the skin Goblin Green color. There's other ways to do it where you're not actually altering the color, but you're just highlighting it with this first layer, which is not what I'm doing. I'm actually trying to restore a Goblin Green color, and so doing that, I'm actually going to be covering a majority of the arm, of the muscles. And it does take some practice, and if you have to, nice thing about doing it with the same color, if you screw up, make a mistake, you just grab the Thrakka Green and rewash it and try again. But after so many of these guys, there's not a whole lot of sculpts. You will become intimately familiar with every single recess, bump, scratch on the Ork models, because there's just so many to do, and there's not that much variety. So you can say, well, this arm I need to go here and here and here, and that's just from the sheer volume of things. Especially if there's some that you like more than others. One thing here that's important is try very hard to avoid getting green onto the body. Let me see. I don't know how it's coming out in the video. It looks awesome here in real life. The problem is I'm trying to balance the light issue. Have enough light low enough light for the camera to film, but enough light for me to see what the heck I'm doing. So it's kind of a catch-22 here. I also keep my brush at hand, so if I do make a mistake, I just kind of get the wet paint out of the recess. So I just keep the little bit of the flow weight on the palette, and I get a wet spot. And you can see how, see that's coming up. You got a lot of depth really quickly, really easy when doing just a simple layer. Of course, I have tried base coating with the Orchide shade and just going straight to the Goblin Green, and it just didn't work because it was too dramatic. So if you want to do that, and depending on how you want to do your army, because again, there's no one way to do it. I've seen lots of yellowish green orc skin, and it looks awesome. There's no doubt about that. It's not what I want for my army, but there's definitely nothing wrong with doing more variety of shades. Of course, there's even nothing that says they even have to be green. I've seen red skin orcs, and of course, if you're doing Dust Skulls, you can just simply do straight up blue skin if you want to. Totally covered in look paint, whatever it's called. Taboos. One area that is really good for this is the sinews on the back of the fingers. Gives you nice. I hate these things though. Just a kind of a side note. These shooter arms are so. Even on the new ones, I figured they would fix it on the new sprue, but they didn't. They're just so lacking in definition on the back. They don't barely even look like hands. They're just awful. I was hoping they would have fixed that with this new sprue, but they didn't. They just copied it over. And I'm not going to worry about the palm too much because that's going to be covered by the Shuda. It's just assembled. So yeah, there we go. There's some very nice definition. Now we're going to add another layer to that here in a little bit, but first I'm going to do the face. Now this is a lot harder because you got a lot of details here. I'm going to say the areas to help pick out. First of all is the chins. You can just get out the chins here. There's your first area of highlight. And then the lip. At least the top part of the lip here. I probably wouldn't go any farther than that. You got the nose. Bring out the nose bits. And most of these will have these vertical lines on right above on the top per lip. Try and get those. You can use the extreme detail brush here too, but I've gotten so many of these painted that I'm very familiar with it. And then the cheekbones. And pick those out. And that's really all you have to do on the face. You can try and get some more down in here if you want to. Again, don't worry about getting green on the teeth because you haven't painted those yet, so you can just go back over and rebase those, which I just did. So I'm going to cover the teeth with some black. That's really all you need to do. Oh, and of course, there's not much here. I want to get the top of the neck. All the necks are kind of like a U, so I want to get the top of or a W, so I want to get the top of the valleys here, or the top of the hills, and leave the valley with the wash in it. I'll go underneath here and I'll pick out the Adam's apple, which is really weird because orcs are asexual, yet they have Adam's apples. Ugh, that's what we call human-centric thinking. And sometimes this can be hard to. And then there's a couple. What the anatomical part is. Sinew, cartilage, tendons. I think they're tendons to the east side of the Adam's apple. And if you can get to the side, some of these, especially the ones without the helmet, there will be some areas to highlight on the side here. More folds, sinews, tendons, whatever. And give those a quick highlight too. So that's the first step with the skin. So I'm going to take a short break. I'll be right back.